My strange stay at the haunted Luxor Hotel. 30M if it matters. I'm in sales and Las Vegas is a part of my territory. Although I don't live there, I spend lots of time there for work and need to keep my hotel bill under a certain amount in order for my company to reimburse me. The Luxor is cheap, has a good valet parking, and is close to my work event. Plus, I never stayed there before, probably has some dated charm to it. I thought, fuck it, why not? When I walk into the lobby, I felt a mix of uneasy and curious. The Egyptian theme is so dated, yet the architecture was so ambitious for its time, it's hard not to appreciate it. I get to my room and I just start laughing. This is the worst hotel I've ever stayed in, by far. It was built in '93, but for some reason feels much more dated than that. I always get a room with 2 queens everywhere I stay. BC hotels routinely skimp on blankets, so I take the blankets from one bed and bring them to the other so I'm cozy. I do not bring over any pillows since I had enough and wouldn't be able to lay down straight with 6 huge pillows. Anyways, I wake up early, work out in my room, shower, housekeeping knocks on my door while I'm getting ready. I had to really yell for her to hear the room was still occupied. That's kind of annoying. So I put a do not disturb sign on my door handle, which stays on for the entirety of my stay. Right as I get ready, the fire alarm goes off. This is the first time this has happened at any hotel I've ever stayed at, I thought. While evacuating, security told me our elevator was shut off, but the opposite sides was still functional, meaning the alarm was triggered somewhere on my side of the resort. Had to take the fire escape down from the 12th floor. I googled Luxor fire alarm, and I guess this happens a couple of times every month. I wondered if this was the case with every hotel in Vegas, but chalked it up to it being so cheap, attracting a lot of riffraff. I come back to my room a few hours later to meditate plus clear my head for a work event. I beeline straight for the window and check out the view. Then I look at my bed. For some reason, the pillows from the guest bed were stacked up, parallel on top of each other, 3 high on my bed. Nothing was stolen, and I'm not sure if anything else was misplaced. I wouldn't have remembered the previous location of any other objects in my room, but I knew for a fact that I didn't do this. Kinda gave me creeps at first, but then I thought, security probably was looking for the cause of the fire alarm and looked in my room, even though I had a do not disturb sign. Then I thought, but why would something that triggers a fire alarm be under the pillows of the guest bed? And why would they stack them up so neatly on my bed? But I was there for an important work event and was trying to relax before, had better things to focus on. I dim the curtains, lay down, and take deep breaths. 20 minutes in, my manager calls me, says he needs me to cover a meeting for him. In a rush, I throw on my things and leave, not touching anything else in my room, plus leaving the curtains closed. I don't come back until after my work event. Got back to my room around 11. I open the door and my brain's alarm goes off. Something doesn't look right. The curtains were wide open. I knew I didn't leave them that way, and again, nothing was stolen. This freaked me out, but I was trying to mentally justify this. I thought, I just turned up the AC this morning and the windows are diagonal. Maybe the draft opened them on their own? And I could also just have ADHD'd it, opening my windows on autopilot and forgetting I did it. I had to gaslight myself to sleep that night. Told myself it was just my ADHD and it was in fact me that opened the curtains, but when I thought of what the room looked like when I was leaving earlier, it was dim. That scared me, had to switch my mental channel. I had to imagine myself opening the curtains and forgetting, and pictured that so many times it seemed plausible. I didn't shower that night out of fear that if something was messing with me, it might take me being naked, wet, and vulnerable as an opportunity to escalate. I prayed hard while constant bumping and tapping occurred throughout the night. Chalked up the noises to loud, unruly neighbors, but the whole time I never saw anyone leave or enter any of the rooms around me. In the morning, I looked at the curtains, still closed. Wasn't a draft that opened them yesterday. I got on a call with my team, said I was excited to leave because weird shit keeps happening. They asked what I meant and I told them everything. One of my colleagues, who was a Vegas local, told me the Luxor is notorious for being haunted and cursed, and this is a well-known thing people have said about staying here. As I was leaving, I ran into a security guard outside the elevator and asked her if security goes into rooms, even if they have the do not disturb sign on, if the fire alarm is going off to see what the origins are. She basically said they can do that on paper, but she doesn't remember a time they have done that. I told her about the pillows, then about the curtains being open, and she wasn't giving me anything, so I straight up asked her if the place was haunted. She told me no, and that she's never heard that, and no one has ever reported that to her. I thought, weird. Maybe my coworker just knows a couple people who are bullshitters. Maybe all this stuff was in my head. I asked the front desk about security going into rooms. She said no, never. I then asked about guests reporting objects moving in their rooms when they're gone. She again said no, never. Has never heard that. Wasn't giving an inch. I then said, all right, be straight with me. Is this place haunted? Have any other guests ever reported unexplainable things happening in their room? She said, no, never. Haven't heard that from any guests. That's terrible. Somebody moved your stuff around. You should file a report. I smiled and said I was alright, BC, nothing was stolen. I then Googled, is the Luxor Hotel haunted? If nothing popped up, I would have dropped it, but boy, it was obvious that this point employees there are trained to gaslight. Ghosts are bad for business. Not only is this a common experience among guests at the Luxor, but it's one of the most common experience among travelers. It's incredibly well known and documented to be a paranormal hotbed. I'm glad I didn't know this while I was staying there, or else I wouldn't be able to sleep. In the Google search results, the fourth result was a 3-star review about the 12th floor being haunted. I stayed on the 12th floor. Not only did I stay there, but my room was the closest to the elevator, right in the middle of the 12th floor. The most 12th floor room on the 12th floor, if you will. I guess this place has been cursed from the very beginning, with lots of deaths in construction, mafia deaths buried beneath the property, allegedly. For suicides between its opening in '93 and now, a couple of murders and accidental deaths from safety hazards on some of the attraction. I heard the shape of the resort doesn't help, but I'm no expert. Never staying at that fucking place ever again. Glad it's getting demolished in 2026. Good riddance.